Hello and welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Today's video going to be a wee scouting video about a player that is said to be on Celtic's radar, a player that Celtic have been scouting since the summer. And there are quite a number of transfer sites and scouting sites and football journalist sites around Europe and now in Scotland, indicating that Celtic are thought to be potentially lining up a bid for this young player. There does appear to be interest from some other clubs, primarily in the English Premier League. But it is thought that Celtic might well be a wee bit further along the line than many other clubs at the moment. Now, the player's name is Bazoumana Toure. He is currently playing for Hammarby in the top league in Sweden. He's just 18 years old, 5'10", has 3 under-20 Ivory Coast internationals, and has actually only played one season in the top league in Sweden. That was the 24 season, having played a couple of games in his home country before a £300,000 transfer. So he's actually really quite inexperienced. He plays left wing primarily, but can play left midfield and even right midfield. A player from his heat maps that does stick mostly to the left wing, although does cut into the box on a fairly regular basis to shoot and to score with both left foot, right foot, and with his head. His stats for Hammarby last season: he had a season-long average rating of 7.3, which is obviously a good rating, as anything over 7 is good. And his stats for last year: 23 games, 9 goals and 4 assists. And he had 2 games, as I said, before moving to Sweden in his native Ivory Coast. His transfer market value is said to be £7.5 million now, although stories in the press are suggesting that Hammarby are looking for a club record fee of £10 million to secure the transfer of Bazoumana Toure. One final wee detail to mention before we crack on with the video highlights of his season last year. His contract with Hammarby does actually run till the 31st of December 2028, and so in effect has 4 years left to go. And so Hammarby obviously are under no pressure to sell him and have 2 to 3 years of good contract time before there's any pressure to sell him. However, it does appear that Hammarby would be willing to sell Toure at this time, but it would take a club record fee and a national record fee of £10 million. So just going to pop in those highlights of last season from Toure with all the usual copyright disclaimers, and then we'll crack on with the final part, which is my own thoughts regarding the player from having watched a great deal of scouting videos about him in the last 24-48 hours, and also the feasibility of him coming to Celtic at this time. Now, looking a wee bit further into his stats, his analysis of his season last year with Hammarby, as I said, his pitch heat map does show he spends the massive majority of his time on the left wing, although does track back into midfield and even into the defensive zones. Does cut into the middle and does actually appear in the box on a regular basis, but very, very rarely swaps from left wing to right wing. His stats for passing accuracy are good, both in terms of short passes, long passes, medium passes. However, his stats for crosses are rather poor, with only a 17% success rate, which is rather disappointing. His stats for shot conversion, 1 in 5, which is pretty good for a wide player. His stats for defence are quite good in terms of things like winning duels, tackles, winning in the air, interceptions and clearances, but certainly no more than average, certainly not into the good or very good category. And the opinion of several scouts is that he is good at high press game, good in terms of finishing. However, ball control is poor, and he actually does lose the ball on a very, very regular basis. And certainly, as an average per game last season, it was 10 times or more that he was losing the ball per game, which is on the high side as well. Now, my own personal feelings, having seen those two videos from which I've taken extracts, and several others on YouTube, which you obviously can watch yourselves as well. In addition, he does look a very pacey player. He's actually a strong player. He's good on the ball, very difficult to knock off the ball once he gets going. He's actually, again, once he gets going, his dribbling skills are actually good, although the stats from last season were average at best. Two-footed, as I was saying, primarily left-footed, but is very capable of passing and crossing with his right foot. Can hit the byline and get in a nice cross, left-footed and right-footed. Is actually pretty capable in the air at 5'10". That's not too unexpected. Good finisher, primarily left-footed, although he can finish right-footed. His goals are primarily from in and around the box rather than any long shots. And again, for a wide player, he does get into the box on a regular basis. Good instincts for getting into the box when the ball's coming in from the opposite side. One other thing that really struck me was he does have good vision for a pass through a defence or from side to side, and very capable of 1-2 passes and then spinning in behind to use his pace. In essence, I think Bazoumana Toure is a very talented young player. I think he's not the finished article, but I wouldn't describe him as what many people would say as a project player. I think he's a finished player who's going to get better and better and better. Whether Celtic should sign him, I think, is another matter. He is just 18. He does appear to have adapted to European football and European conditions remarkably well, coming from the Ivory Coast straight into Swedish football. And does appear, as I said, to have adapted well. He had a good season last year. Thought to be one of the most promising young players currently playing in Europe, highly sought after. In the summer, it was thought that both Arsenal and Manchester United were looking at him. It would appear now the teams who are most looking at him, other than Celtic, are Brighton, who are thought to be preparing a 13 million euro bid, which would be around about or just above the asking price. And West Ham are also thought to be closely following him and interested in him, although their managerial uncertainty at the moment may well be preventing them going forward with any transfer bid. I think it would be a big risk to take such a young player. I think he would fit into Celtic's team. He does show the ability to track back. He does show pretty good abilities at winning the ball back. Tackling is thought to be a good at pressing the defence to recycle the ball and put pressure on opposition defenders trying to restart attacks. Good finisher. I think he's got to work on his crossing and final pass, but does show a lot of the skills. I personally would be a wee bit surprised if Celtic do commit £10 million to sign an 18-year-old Ivory Coast under-20 international from Swedish football. But then I was nicely surprised when Celtic did commit €13 million, £11 million to sign Arne Engels, the talented Belgian footballer from German football. Arne Engels only a couple of years or so older, and so not that much younger is Bazoumana Toure. We would be delighted to see what you feel yourself, having watched this video and the highlights, and have a wee look at his stats and other videos. So do pop your own thoughts regarding Bazoumana Toure into the comment section for a nice wee chat, debate, analysis amongst like-minded Celtic fans. That finishes things off for today's video. Just a wee polite suggestion, encouragement. If you are new to the channel, please do click that subscribe button. Keep the numbers pushing up and up and up. And as I said, do pop your own thoughts regarding Bazoumana Toure into the comment section, keeping things, if you can, pleasant, polite, respectful, etc. And so until the next video, goodbye and hail, hail.